Elon Musk is worth over $400 billion. You've heard that number. But here's what nobody tells you: over half of that wealth doesn't actually exist yet. It's locked inside a financial structure so unusual that most billionaire trackers get his net worth completely wrong. And in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you the 7 hidden assets that could either make him the world's first trillionaire or wipe out $100 billion overnight. This is the real story of how Musk's money actually works. Let's start with what everyone thinks they know. Elon Musk owns Tesla. He owns SpaceX. He bought Twitter, now called X. Simple, right? Wrong. Here's the thing that will change how you see wealth forever: Musk doesn't actually own most of Tesla in the way you think. He controls it through something called stock options, contracts that let him buy shares at prices from years ago. It's like having a coupon to buy a house for its 2012 price, except the house is now worth 50 times more. But here's where it gets complicated. Those options? They're not all vested. Meaning a massive chunk of his supposed wealth is money he hasn't actually earned yet. And whether he ever gets it depends on something we'll reveal later that could shock you. To understand Musk's real wealth, you need to understand the 2018 compensation package. This wasn't a salary. It wasn't a bonus. It was the largest executive pay deal in corporate history, and it almost didn't happen. Tesla's board gave Musk a deal, hit 12 increasingly insane milestones, things like reaching a $50 billion market cap, then $100 billion, then $650 billion, and he'd receive roughly 12% of the entire company in stock options. At the time, analysts laughed. Tesla was worth $50 billion total. Nobody believed it could hit $600 billion. But here's the first mini revelation: Musk hit every single milestone. All 12. Some in just months when experts said it would take years. By 2024, those options were worth over $50 billion. But then Delaware happened. Stop. I need you to understand something that most financial media completely glosses over. In January 2024, a Delaware judge voided that entire $56 billion pay package. Gone. A single shareholder lawsuit argued the Tesla board was too cozy with Musk, that the deal wasn't negotiated at arm's length. And the judge agreed. Now, pause and think about that. $56 billion erased by one ruling. That's more than the GDP of over 100 countries. Vanished from Musk's net worth overnight. But here's where it gets strange. Musk didn't panic. He didn't appeal immediately. Instead, he did something nobody expected. He moved Tesla's incorporation from Delaware to Texas. Why? Because the game Musk is playing isn't about money. It's about control. And control is the second hidden asset nobody talks about. Here's hidden asset number 2, voting control. Musk owns roughly 13% of Tesla's actual shares. But through dual-class stock structures at his other companies and strategic board placements, he controls decisions worth hundreds of billions. At SpaceX, he controls the company despite not owning a majority of it. Same with Neuralink. Same with the Boring Company. This is the billionaire playbook that regular investors never see. You don't need to own 51% if you control the voting rights. But control creates a problem, a ticking time bomb that's sitting inside Musk's empire right now. SpaceX is valued at over $350 billion in private markets. It's possibly the most valuable private company in human history. And Musk? He can't sell a single share. Not because he doesn't want to. Because the moment SpaceX goes public, everything changes. Hidden asset number 3 is SpaceX itself. And this is where Musk's net worth gets truly bizarre. Forbes, Bloomberg, all the billionaire trackers, they list SpaceX at whatever the last private funding round valued it at. $350 billion. $400 billion. But here's what they don't tell you: private company valuations are essentially made up. They're whatever the last investor agreed to pay for a tiny slice. When SpaceX eventually goes public, that number could double overnight. Or it could crater. There's no middle ground. Musk has said Starlink, just the satellite internet division, could IPO separately once cash flows are predictable. One analyst estimated Starlink alone could be worth $200 billion. But there's a reason Musk keeps delaying. And it connects to something happening right now that will blow your mind. But that's not even the real story. Everything I've told you so far? That's just the visible part of the iceberg. The next 4 hidden assets I'm about to reveal are where Musk's fortune gets genuinely strange. Because asset number 4 isn't a company, it's a debt strategy that lets Musk spend billions without ever selling stock. Here's how it works. Instead of selling Tesla shares and paying capital gains tax, Musk borrows against them. Banks will lend billionaires up to 50% of their stock value at incredibly low interest rates. So Musk can access, say, $10 billion in cash while still owning the stock that keeps appreciating. It's like having your cake, eating it, and then the cake grows back larger. But here's the dark side: if Tesla stock crashes, banks can force him to sell shares immediately to cover the loan. This is called a margin call. And in 2022, this almost destroyed him. Hidden asset number 5, the Twitter acquisition debt. When Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in 2022, he didn't write a check. He used $13 billion in bank loans secured against Twitter itself, plus another $12 billion he borrowed against his Tesla shares. That meant Musk was suddenly leveraged to an insane degree. If Tesla stock dropped far enough, he'd face margin calls. If Twitter couldn't pay its debt interest, he'd lose the company. And in late 2022, Tesla dropped 65% from its peak. Musk's net worth collapsed by over $200 billion in less than a year. He went from being worth $340 billion to around $140 billion. But here's the revelation that changes everything: that collapse actually made him richer in the long run. And the way he did it reveals the 5th hidden asset. Here's how Musk turned disaster into dominance. Hidden asset number 5 is tax harvesting at scale. When Tesla crashed in 2022, Musk sold billions in stock he needed to sell anyway to fund the Twitter deal. But by selling during the crash, he locked in lower prices for tax purposes. Then when Tesla recovered, he'd already taken the tax hit at lower valuations. It's completely legal, and it's estimated he saved billions in future taxes. Meanwhile, he used X as a political platform, building relationships that would become asset number 6, government contracts. Since 2023, SpaceX government contracts have exploded. NASA, the Department of Defense, intelligence agencies. Starshield, the military version of Starlink, is reportedly worth billions annually. And with Musk's political connections strengthening, analysts expect these contracts to multiply. But it's asset number 7 that could change everything. Now I need you to pay very close attention. Because asset number 7 is the one that could make or break everything. It's called XAI. In 2023, Musk quietly launched an artificial intelligence company. Most people ignored it. Another Musk side project, right? Wrong. In less than 2 years, XAI raised over $10 billion at a valuation exceeding $50 billion. For context, that makes it one of the fastest growing startups in history. But here's what makes XAI different from every other AI company. Musk controls the compute. He bought over 100,000 specialized AI chips and built one of the world's largest supercomputer clusters in Memphis, Tennessee. He has exclusive access to X's data, hundreds of millions of users generating real-time human feedback. And he's integrating XAI across Tesla's autonomous driving, Optimus robots, and SpaceX operations. This is where all 7 hidden assets converge. Think about what Musk has actually built. Tesla isn't a car company, it's a robotics and AI company with 12 million vehicles collecting real-world data. SpaceX isn't a rocket company, it's a global communications monopoly controlling 60% of active satellites. X isn't a social media platform, it's a real-time human behavior database. And XAI sits at the center of all of it, processing data that no other AI company can access. Now remember the question I posed at the beginning: why is half of Musk's wealth money that doesn't technically exist yet? Here's the answer. His current $400 billion net worth is based on today's valuations of companies built for a future that hasn't arrived yet. Tesla's valuation assumes fully autonomous vehicles. SpaceX's valuation assumes Mars colonization and global internet. xAI's valuation assumes artificial general intelligence. And this is the truth about Elon Musk's net worth that nobody tells you. His wealth isn't a number. It's a bet. The markets are betting that Musk will deliver a future that doesn't exist yet. If Tesla achieves full self-driving and robot access, his shares could be worth triple their current value. If SpaceX lands humans on Mars and Starlink reaches 3 billion subscribers, that $350 billion valuation could hit $1 trillion. If xAI develops artificial general intelligence first, it could become the most valuable company ever created. Under that scenario, Musk doesn't just become the world's first trillionaire, he becomes the richest human in history by a factor of 10. But if autonomous driving stalls, if SpaceX faces a catastrophic failure, if AI regulation crushes xAI, that $400 billion could collapse to $50 billion faster than you can blink. His entire fortune is a leveraged bet on the future. And right now, the market is betting he wins. So what does this mean for you? First, understand that billionaire net worth numbers are fiction. They're snapshots of a moving target, calculated by people guessing what private companies might be worth. Musk's real wealth is his control over companies positioned at the intersection of AI, space, energy, and communications. Second, his playbook is replicable at any scale: use assets to borrow rather than sell, maintain control over voting rights, and build businesses that compound data advantages. And third, and this is crucial, the next 5 years will determine whether Musk becomes a case study in visionary wealth building or the biggest example of leverage gone wrong. His SpaceX IPO timing, Tesla's FSD progress, and xAI's race against OpenAI and Google will decide everything. This isn't just a story about one man's money. It's a preview of how wealth will be measured in the AI age. Now you understand the 7 hidden assets behind Elon Musk's $400 billion and why that number could double or collapse depending on bets that haven't played out yet. If this changed how you think about wealth, hit subscribe because we break down the financial architectures of the world's most powerful people every week. Drop a comment. Do you think Musk becomes the first trillionaire, or is this the biggest house of cards in financial history? Your answer might surprise you. And if you want to see how Warren Buffett's net worth strategy is the exact opposite of Musk's, that video is on screen now.